want a fist bump too, man. Okay. There we go. Poggy brother.
Buggy. Scoopy gang. Welcome to new week. And we're here. You can hear the roosters outside. And the first time we're outside the studio and you can see people moving around. And I'm your host, TJ, and I'm with Desmond today.
Good morning, everybody.
And he's the proud business owner who's in Bali for a long time.
About 10 years now. 10 or 11 years. Yeah.
That's a long time, huh?
It's a short time. The longer you're here, the shorter you feel.
See, that's the thing.
The first year is a challenge. Second year is kind of getting used to it. But after that, it's a great place to live.
My thing is that time moves really fast when you're having a happy time.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, absolutely true. Time moves fast when you're being productive. Yeah. You have good friends, have a good family life, and things are kind of in harmony, for sure.
Really? So for me, I'm not happy that sometimes, because time moves on so fast. I'm like, okay, the happy day went on. Tomorrow, I don't know how it's going to be.
Live in the moment.
Yeah.
Live in the moment. Appreciate the roosters. Appreciate the scenery. So, all right. So don't worry about tomorrow, and time's moving too fast.
Yeah. So you from Bronx, New York?
Born in the Bronx. Yeah. Yeah.
So how difficult is to adapt to life, which is like so fast-paced life in New York, to come here to Bali, and like what is the differences you've seen?
Yeah, so I had a long transition. So when I left New York, I moved to Ohio, and that was kind of a chill place, but I was working in a high-stress industry in high tech. So that was high energy. And then California was just a great place to live. The scenery, the environment, similar to Bali. And then from California, I moved to different parts of Asia. So kind of a breaking in period. But the hardest part for me was moving from China. China was full on, full intensity, work. We used to do what we call 996.
996.
So 996 was the Chinese lifestyle.
Okay.
9 in the morning at work, leave work 9 at night, 6 days a week.
That's what, like 12 hours?
Yeah, it's 12 hours, and it was intense. And typically after leaving work at 9, that was party time.
Really?
Party time. So you go out and spend time with your team, spend time with visiting customers, and you might get home at 1, 2 in the morning, and the whole day starts again the next day. So I did that for 10 years in China. So coming to Bali was, the hardest part for me was so much energy you needed in China to survive and be successful. And you just pushing, I always called it heavy lifting. And then all of a sudden you come to Bali, it's like being in outer space. There's just no gravity anymore. It's just a super easy place to live. So the hardest part for me the first couple of years was figuring out, how do I rearrange my aggressive lifestyle for a really chill place like this?
Did you ever feel restless in Bali?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely hated it in the beginning. Yeah. I was like, what the hell am I doing in Bali? Yeah. After 10 years and what I'm seeing going on in the United States, I'm feeling like the smartest guy in the room.
Of course, yeah. Because
I'm like, I retired young, and I'm like, who retires young and moves to Southeast Asia? I should have moved to the States, bought a nice place in California, blah, blah, blah. But looking at the dynamics I see back home right now, I can't even imagine living there compared to here.
Okay, I'm only going to ask one question about US. Where is the future holds for US?
Do you think? US needs to tighten up.
Yeah.
US needs to have expectations of the youth. US needs to revisit tradition, right? Or else I think it's on a bad trajectory right now.
Yeah, I feel I'm so sad where it's going. Yeah. And I'm really think it's going down. I think
down's kind of a bad way to. All countries go in cycles, all right? So I think it's on a downward cycle. I'm much more of, we call it a shining city on the hill person. Yeah. So Ronald Reagan was like, the United States presents an image to the rest of the world to aspire to, and the shining city on the hill. And I think we're not that shining city right now. It could be, right? But I think also a lot of people forget, U.S. is going down, U.S. currency going down. The U.S. is responsible for a lot of good things in the world. Responsible for the internet. Responsible for boring things like container shipping, which makes it possible for me to get something like this on Amazon in Indonesia. So I think it's good to say, the U.S. doesn't seem good at the moment. But you have to remember, it's come through a lot of challenges. It'll come through again.
Yeah, I hope it does because whatever this going on right now, I feel like it's not good. I think
It's
somewhere
not good energy.
yeah, somewhere
Yeah.
it has to be like a period and saying, okay, you need to stop this doing.
Yes,
No.
it needs adult supervision.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
think about
it's,
it. It does feel like the politics in my country needs adult supervision.
yeah. So in Bali, like I mean, I did feel restless when I came in the beginning. Okay, see, you're not used to the chill life. You're not used to like, okay, you're used to on your tippy toes. So
Yeah,
this
all
is
day
what's doing.
long. And
Yeah,
anybody that comes from a real career, your calendar's full.
yeah,
Right, my calendar was amazingly full. It was pretty much booked every 15-minute slot. So you come from a calendar lifestyle like that. Everything's managed by your calendar. To here, where you don't even know what day of the week it is.
yeah.
Right,
I'm
honestly,
still done it.
when my daughter left and she's no longer going to school, the only way I kept track of the days was when she was in school.
Because Saturday, Sunday she'll be home.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but now it's like without my daughter's living in Los Angeles. Now it's really like, is it Tuesday or Saturday? You don't really, you lose track of the days here,
yeah.
which is a
Well,
good thing
of
as well.
course it does because I mean you're a businessman, right? So I don't
All
do
right.
anything.
All right, you
So
don't do anything? What are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing, man. Come on, you're too young not to be doing nothing. I earned my nothingness. Yeah,
I mean,
you got to step it up.
I did work too. I did work
Right,
in
right.
IT industry for
There you
8
go.
years.
There you go.
I mean, I did before. Now I'm like doing nothing to figure out what should I do next.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So this is a transition phase.
Investigation period.
Yeah,
All right,
investigation
all right,
phase. Yeah, you would say that. Yeah.
And things are moving fast right now.
Things are moving fast. I wouldn't say for myself because I'm still trying to figure out what I want to become
Sure,
the next 10 years.
sure.
But right now it's just like, I mean, I'm doing something for fun. I just want to keep this for fun.
Understood.
Yeah,
Sure,
don't want to
sure.
make anything out of it. But I don't know what future holds. I don't know.
Things are moving so fast. That's what I mean. It's like when you look at AI and you look at the digital world.
Yeah.
All right, I keep telling my wife, I feel like I'm missing a really important moment in time
Yeah,
because the technology is moving at such a quick rate. This
really
is a
fast rate. Yeah.
major inflection point right now. So for young people, if you're not learning the dynamics of what's going on, about how to teach like ChatGPT and the other AI interfaces, how to actually do what they do, or the graphic side of it, you might miss like the most interesting opportunity of your lifetime.
For
A
sure.
lot of interesting things going on.
You would miss, and I mean, sometimes I feel like this is going in a wrong way also, but also it may be good. You need to, everything you need to use it like good and bad, right?
What might be going in the wrong way?
I feel like too much of AI is not good.
In what way?
Too much of like, oh, so in a way, like you should limiting your capabilities. Let's say, imagine that before a phone invented, you remember everything. You remember
Fair
where
enough.
to go.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
remember the maps, and you remember everything. Nowadays, I don't even remember one single phone number in my head.
Not even your childhood phone number.
I think I remember only my dad's phone number.
All right, it's probably your password,
Yeah,
right, or something like that. Yeah.
that's the only thing
All
I
right,
remember.
all right.
So other than that, I don't remember anything, which is like limiting human capabilities. I feel
Do you read?
I don't read.
Yeah, see, this is the challenge for me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a bit older, and reading was a huge part of my life. Big novels and books and even technical things. Now, my ability to read more than 5 minutes is really challenged because of all the stimulus.
You see, that's
Yeah.
Even though now, like, imagine you used to watch TV shows, right? Back in the day, you
Yeah.
used to watch TV.
Even
Now-
now, I can't as well.
Now, nobody has attention spans
My
for
wife,
more than 10
my wife
seconds.
can watch TV all the time. She's watching Netflix. Oh, you see this?
No, I do watch
Yeah.
TV if it's interesting. See, before I used to like, even if it's a good TV show, let's say Sopranos, right?
Sure, sure.
So,
yeah, the best.
It is the best TV show.
Yeah.
Back in the day, even then there is boring scenes in between. Now, if you watch TV, it doesn't matter how good it is. If it comes like boring, you skip for a bit.
Agree.
I
agree.
do skip for a
sure.
bit, and I go on to the interesting scene. I wouldn't wait for the boring scene to go over.
Yeah, I'm
know?
a stubborn guy. If I'm watching, I'll still watch the boring scene.
You see-
I don't want to miss the subplot.
You
But
see,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
me.
Yeah,
So that's the youth right now, is that
Right.
they don't have the attention span. Even
sure.
like, let's imagine we do this for fun. We cut up reels for like 30 seconds. It used to be a minute. So we cut up now. It's like the reason we cut up in 30 seconds is because nobody even watching a minute.
that long.
So the more the technology increases, the more it limits the human capability to invent something or do something about it.
I'm still think there's so much energy around short attention span. It keeps things moving forward.
It does, but not everybody is going to take it, right? So all the population, like
Oh
the
yeah, there's going to be quite a bit left behind.
yeah, the laziness is increasing
Yeah.
as much as the
Yeah,
invention is increasing.
Agree.
So that's where the problem cuts off.
Yeah, that I agree.
Yeah.
There's millions upon millions of people will be left behind, just holding their mouth open.
Yeah,
What just happened?
yeah,
What just? You look at the creative space, right? And I've been spending a ton of time using Mid-Journey, and the creativity brings out of an old guy like me. Hey, make a mashup between Picasso and Frida Kahlo, and make that furniture, and boom, you have this amazing chair. All right, so all the people that used to do design work, concept investigations, they should be thinking about how's this going to affect me.
yeah.
All right, so the creativity people in that space either need to be leading implementation of these new tools, or yeah, they're going to be wondering what just happened.
So you moved to Bali in 10 years ago, 12 years
In
ago,
2012.
2012.
2012.
So everything is rice fields back then.
I won't say everything was rice fields, but we moved to Petit Tingit,
Yeah,
and all the nightclubs you see right now weren't there. W wasn't completed, and it was just made. There was a place called the Living Room, which was the place in that area to go to at night, and handful of small, simple restaurants.
if you don't mind, can you repeat the Petatenget?
Petit Tingit?
Is it how it's pronounced?
Oh, who knows? I think it's Petit Tingit.
It's a Petatenget.
Yeah, but I just say Petit Tingit. New York style. New York style.
New York style.
And typically when you say it, everybody's waiting to hear you say Seminyak.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a district in Seminyak.
Yeah, Kuta. What would the few words you would tell people trying to travel, right, to Bali? Like as a foreigner, you're from coming from US, or it doesn't matter which country, you speak English. So if they're trying to travel here, what is the few words you can tell them to learn?
Oh, don't ask me about Bahasa. So learn Islamic Pagi, Silakan Makan, pleasantries, things like that.
Apa kabar?
Apa kabar, all that stuff. My Bahasa is terrible.
Really?
I understand quite a bit, but my pronunciation's bad, so I don't use it too much.
So you haven't tried learning it, or
oh
you
no,
tried?
I spent literally about 2 years.
Try learning
I think
it.
I picked the wrong teacher.
Oh.
Seriously, this woman used to come and change the syllabus all the time. I'm not making excuses.
Yeah.
But I picked the wrong teacher.
You think there is a syllabus to learn this? Or?
I think if I had to do that again, I would find a young person.
Yeah.
And just hang out with that young person.
Yeah.
Right? Pay them for their time, maybe 3 hours a week. Then they teach me. If you get an SMS in Indonesia or a message, everything's an abbreviation.
Yeah.
Right? So to teach me how to decipher that.
Okay.
Right? And the slang words and things like that. The teacher I hired tried to teach me the word perpendicular in Bahasa.
Yeah.
I'll never use that. All right. So if I had that to do over again, I'd have found a 20-something-year-old to teach me Indonesian on a casual basis. Doing like what we're doing today.
Okay.
Go on a road trip, go to a cafe, go to a couple of warungs, things like that, go to the beach, and really help me just with casual Indonesian. These are not formal people.
Yeah.
All right. So the more casual you can interact, the better.
Yeah, I think some of the people is still trying to learn English. So sometimes if they're not fluent enough in English and trying to teach you,
these are smart people too.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder to find, at least in Bali, an Indonesian or Balinese that doesn't speak some English.
You see that's
They're
what
amazingly
I like,
smart.
Yeah, I like that.
Right?
Because
And my wife, she speaks Indonesian natively, but beats me in Scrabble. All right, so she's a pretty smart woman. Yeah, these are really smart people. So typically, I think the onus is on the bules to step it up if you're going to be here for a while.
For sure, because you need to at least learn some
pleasantries for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, what did you do differently in Bali to adapt from a city style to Bali style?
So I came here for a 1-year sabbatical. All right, I was working pretty intensely in China. My daughter was getting older, so I'm was pretty much, let me spend a year in Bali. We had already owned a house here.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's just use the villa that we have. And, and so we moved here with that. And then when I spent a lot of time with my daughter traveling. So my first 2 years, I never signed up for my quitas. Every 28 days, I would look at which flights are going where. I'd hop on the plane to Australia, different cities in Australia, Europe, things like that. And whenever my daughter was off of school, I traveled with her. So there was kind of a transitional. I was in Bali, but still leaving Bali.
Okay.
And then over time, it was just, maybe we'll stay in Bali. And my wife was looking at the beauty industry, right? She wanted to open a salon. And she had been a great wife, traveled with me all around the world, lived in different countries with me while I was doing my thing. So I'm like, if we're going to do it, let's do it big. And she opened a shampoo lounge. And while we were setting up for that, way back in 2012, it wasn't the Bali you see now where there's barbershops everywhere. There were very few barbershops. I'm like, if we do this business, let's make sure we have a barbershop in it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the best things we did as part of the business, to have Bali Barber. And what I learned when I had Bali Barber, that's the best way to make friends.
Yeah.
Because we had so many people coming in from the business community, right? It was really appealing to people that had small businesses here. And the first few years of that business, I made what I would call lifetime Bali friends. All right, so much of my social circle came out of the business we started as a hobby.
You see, that's the thing about Bali, right? So, I mean, even barber shops in US, like if you go to neighborhood barber
Sure.
shops here too, like it's you go there, sit, talk, talk shit,
Yeah,
and like
be yourself.
yeah, it's the
Be
same
yourself.
thing like this. Yeah, it's easy to like build up connections and build up relationships using that. I think
and
I really
it's just a fun space for guys, right?
Yeah.
So we go in there. It's typically, it's not like a barbershop in the States nowadays where it's pretty much a quick fade and you're out.
yeah,
Mine is still old school. You're in there for an hour, maybe 90 minutes.
yeah.
And while you're in there, you're meeting a lot of people. So for me personally, I love to talk and get to know what people are doing in the island and things like that. That was the absolute best thing I did was start that shop.
So one of the things going around right now, right? So the business, how hard it is to start a business in Bali.
Oh, I think this is an entrepreneur's dream.
Yeah.
Everybody, well, you meet a lot of small business owners. The rent's too high, the rules aren't clear. Welcome to small business. Right? Anywhere in the world, your big challenge is the rent. Right? Your big challenge is finding competent staff and understanding regulations. But for me personally, I look at Indonesia as an entrepreneur's dream. Right? Look at how many restaurants start here, how many nightclubs start, barbershops start, salons start. And by and large, most of them survive. Right? Yeah, we see a few turn, but most people that come here and are committed to their business, right? Don't view it as a hobby, but you end up really showing up every day to grow the business. Indonesia is a great place.
So it's not so hard to start a business.
No, I think it's actually straight line.
Straight
It's
line.
straight line easy.
So what are the few basic steps they need to take if some business owner
Yeah, I
trying to
think
start?
for my case, it's a little bit easier because my wife's Indonesian, right? So that makes the process very straightforward. But now we're also in a Bali where there's so many business agents that'll walk you through the entire process about the proper quitas. You want to make sure that if you arrive in Bali on a tourist visa, you get the proper visa to work here, which we call a quitas. They'll advise you on the business licenses. Different businesses have different requirements, just like anywhere else in the world. You open up a bar, you have to have a liquor license, you have to have an entertainment license, things like that. Salons and spas have different regulations, and a good business agent will help you with that.
Yeah.
So that makes life very easy, right? Before it was kind of like you had to figure it out yourself, but Bali 2023, very easy to do this. Probably the biggest challenge for people that they're not expecting. Typically, if you open barbershops or salons or businesses like I have, restaurants, you would pay year by year your lease in Australia or the States. Here, you typically, if you want a great rate, pay minimum 5 years,
Okay.
10 years. If you're aggressive and really committed, 20 years in advance. All right, so that could be a multi-million-dollar investment to make sure you secure a great location.
Okay.
So that's the number one hurdle, just
So-
finding the spot.
Yeah. So I would say you're happy doing business in Bali
I'm
rather in a
I love it.
yeah.
I can't imagine. I always say this. to Shirley, my wife, it's like, I can't imagine doing this in the United States with all the regulations.
Really?
Uh,
What would be so hard to compare to US to here as a business?
Fire department inspections,
Okay.
the cost of insurance in the United States is probably 20% of your profit margin. Um, different certifications, regulations that really in the bigger scheme of things probably aren't necessary.
Yeah.
You look at the US right now, everything's about, do you have a barber's license? Right? And that's not a thing here.
Yeah.
Right? So we found some incredibly talented barbers, right? India style. Right? You go to India, these are great barbers. You're not like, do you have a certification?
Yeah.
You could just tell these people have skill. And we hired staff. We did bring in people to train them about hygiene and tool management and things like that. But the requirements to get your frontline staff in the US are so much more demanding than here. And the same for Australia. We've looked at ventures in Australia, and when you start modeling it out, cost of rent, cost of insurance, cost of the employees and making sure they're properly certified, I have absolutely no idea how those businesses survive
Really?
in a meaningful way.
Because I feel like I don't know your what is the barber your place?
So
name?
we have Bali Barber,
Okay.
which is just really good gentleman's barbershop, and we integrate that with the Shampoo Lounge, which is my wife's salon and spa. So we kind of work in peaceful coexistence, right? We always find locations that can house a salon, a spa, and a barbershop in one location, which is incredibly convenient for people, but also a challenge to manage. To do all of those services well, it's hard.
As a business owner, how hard it is to maintain the staff?
Yeah, I want to be real. So I would say 70% of our staff have been with us for the long run,
Okay.
which is incredible in our space for about 10 years. So you can come to our businesses and still see people that were with us since day one.
Yeah.
I think Indonesians, by and large, are very loyal people if you're loyal to them, right? Where I've seen businesses fail, they'll open up. The foreign owners are here quite a bit in the beginning and then disappear. And the staff's kind of wondering, hey, who's running the shop? Who runs the business? But if you're visibly present in the business and you treat your staff with pleasantries, respect, amazingly loyal. More so than anywhere else, I think.
They are loyal people, but would you think they're more chill?
Yeah, I think a lot of people like to bash on Indonesians being too late. I mean, their world is different than our world in that, by and large, most of them are religion centric, and right after religion is family. So if you come in with a Western perspective, with work is number one, of course you're going to be frustrated here.
Yeah.
But if you build a business model that can accommodate people's need for upacharas, religious ceremonies, people's need to spend time with their family more so than the United States or China, where I work, you just have to have a business model that can accommodate that.
Yeah.
So they're chill, right? But by and large, they deliver. They're really professional people.
As for me personally, I don't want people to lose that chillness, that being like a okay, take a step back.
a big city.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want to. I want them to take a back step and like chill and do how it is benefit for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, we're pushing it so hard. Oh, we need to do 200 customers today. We need to do 300 customers
You'll
today.
fail quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I have learned is if you start putting too many metrics around your business, it's not really received well here, right? So to me, you're right. But the chill is why people come to Bali,
Yeah.
right? In my business especially, people like to come for obviously a professional experience, but the interaction with the staff is so important,
Yeah.
right? It's especially with Australians and some of our other tourists, but by and large, the Australian people especially seem to really love making that connection. They like to know my staff and they come back. I'd like to think it's for my business, but I think they come back because they have a connection with the staff, and that chillness is why they come here, right? They know the staff's family, they know her details or his details, and yeah, it'd be a shame if we lost that here. Be a shame.
One of the reasons sometimes I'm very happy to go to a coffee rather. I know it's expensive to buy a coffee outside than make it your own at
Sure.
home, right? Even still, I like to go out every day, pay that money, and sit and talk to someone.
100%.
Talk to someone who's
Yeah.
a staff or at the
Yeah.
coffee shop.
Yeah.
That is some of the differences you miss in US. Like,
Oh, staff. Yeah,
yeah,
you,
nobody talks
you
to you.
are
Like,
so right. It's like, what do you want?
yeah,
What do you want? All right, and
here you
then they
go.
turn the thing around. There's your mandatory tip in the U.S.
Yeah,
Right now, here it's so pleasant. Every interaction, especially the more casual places, you just leave loving it. All right, I go to a simple restaurant. You chit chat with the owners. Food's always delicious, so it's a genuine compliment when you tell them the food is fantastic. Big smile on the face. I love it. Yeah, it's sincere.
so
Sincere is the word I'm looking for.
so as a business owner, would you recommend your customers to tip?
Yeah, I want to be really clear. So for people coming from countries where tipping is not the norm,
Yeah,
tipping is the norm here.
yeah,
But you don't need to tip extravagantly.
yeah,
Right? 20,000, 30,000 is well received.
Yeah.
It's kind of a show of respect. If somebody massages you for 90 minutes, have you ever massaged somebody? How hard that
yeah.
is?
The fingers. Yeah.
Imagine, I'm bored within about a few minutes. Imagine doing that 90 minutes. And yeah, tipping might not be a thing in your home country, but somebody that's attended to you, and especially a physical way, right? It might be a waitress talking to you, having a nice conversation, or a spa therapist really working hard. Some type of show of appreciation goes a long way.
Because I feel like in US it's very mandatory.
It's
And
mechanical.
yeah.
It's obtrusive. Yeah, intrusive.
And if you don't give it to them, and you're like, they're gonna get pissed off, or they're very rude at you, like
Yeah.
giving, like if you say let's buy you, let's say you buy $10 product, you had to tip at least $3-4.
$3. Yeah, and for me, I feel like a dinosaur at times, right? So when I was a young man, I love tipping, right? Especially in New York, it's a big part of the culture. And you take a $10 taxi ride, you throw them a $5, and they were happy, right? Now it's almost so mechanical, and tipping's just taken so for granted.
Yeah,
And the theory behind tipping in the U.S. is you're paying for the person's service, right? It took me a little while to figure this out. Tipping was just something I thought I did nicely. But restaurants, barbershops, things like that, they assume that the clients will tip because they're not paying the staff enough. I don't know how else to say it, right? So you have to pay that additional for the nice lady to come to your table, explain the menu, bring the food as payment for her service, rather than a show of appreciation. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Here, it's still a show of appreciation. Because by and large, most of the business owners I know, especially my really close friends, they pay their staff really well. And when they receive a tip, it's that client really like, I really liked my service today.
it depends on how happy he is.
It's
Yeah,
genuine.
Yeah.
And it's still a nice place for people like myself that like to tip and feel like they appreciated that because I appreciated them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's totally how happy
Yeah.
you are about the service.
Mhm.
But it's like, what I don't like is that, how is it as a customer's problem that you're not paying enough salary
So
to your
I want to be clear.
yeah,
If they don't tip, my staff's going to do really well.
yeah,
All right. In our case, the barbershop, the barbers do very, very well. All right. But most men tip.
Yeah.
And they tip very generously. All right. So, but by and large, these barbers, just to give you an example, you go to Java, you still can get a haircut for 10,000.
Yeah.
Right. You go to Bali, you can probably find a place for 35,000. All right. We charge about 200,000. All right. And there's commission basis, things like this. So the barbers are doing well with or without tips. But what I don't want people to miss when they listen to this, the tip is a show of appreciation.
Yes.
Right. And that, for a well-run business, goes straight to that person. Right. There are businesses that like try to get a cut of the tips, and those disgust me. All right. But by and large, it's a transaction between an individual who's very happy, person that provided a service, for a little bit more.
It's okay to close it.
Yeah, if it closes.
You good?
Mm.
Okay. Making.
So my advice to Indonesians, foreigners wanting to learn, that book. Get a simple, casual book about learning Indonesian. Like, bloody hell. It's Amit.
So first of all, what's the book? Is the title matches the description?
Yeah, I don't want to promote somebody's book, but here it is. Making Out in Indonesian. Yeah, if you're young and single and you want to learn all the naughty terms, it's in this book. but 90% of the book is just casual Indonesian.
Like how to talk to
Yeah,
people.
right. But
Yeah.
it's got the important stuff too. If you meet somebody in a nightclub or something like that. But this book is really useful just to learn casual Indonesian. Men can do a good run to 40.
Yeah.
At 40, you need to be in gear
Yeah.
and making money, right? And then you start thinking about who can I marry. The parents that rush their kids, especially the young men, to get married too young, I don't think they're doing them a good service. You look
Yeah.
at divorce rates,
Yeah.
even in Indian community,
It's getting better.
very
It's
high.
getting worse. Yeah.
The Indian community, I think in the U.S. is like the same as Americans. It's like 50%.
Yeah.
So pushing your kids to get married young, probably not doing them a favor. No, and what people lose track of is people born after the year 2000. If you read about that generation, with the medical advances that are in place right now and forward-looking medical advances, living to 100 is going to be the norm.
Yeah.
And my advice to younger people, especially people born after 2000, is you have to re-engineer your entire life for a 100-year life cycle. So you probably won't retire at 70 or 65. You're going to have 30 years of retirement.
Yeah.
Right? So people really need to think about, especially the young people, longevity plus 20%. And that's going to be a big challenge for your generation. So why get married at 25?
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be married 75 years. Right? Push that out to 40. Adjust your life cycle so you can support a family well at 40. Right? And that would be kind of the direction I'd go.
So you got married to an Indonesian woman.
Yeah.
So did you date before you got married?
Oh yeah, we dated for years. Yeah, I met her in California. She was going to San Jose State.
Oh, you met her in California.
Yeah, and I was working in Silicon Valley when Silicon Valley actually made silicon products. All right, so I was in the hard disk drive industry there, but she was finishing up her degree at San Jose State.
So she was born in Indonesia and she moved to US and started getting married.
Yes.
So that was a long time. So
late 90s, yeah.
yeah, so imagine now kids, everybody's traveling everywhere and
Sure,
doing
sure.
education. Back then, as
it wasn't that common.
yeah,
Yeah.
as an Indonesian going to US and doing a degree, and I'm not sure how it is for her, you know.
Yeah, the Indonesians have been going overseas for quite a while to get their degrees. So I think for Indonesians, her family's quite well traveled. So the world wasn't this big scary place. But for Americans back in the 90s, most wouldn't even know where Indonesia is.
So
by and large.
did you see any difference dating a Western girl to Indonesian girl?
Well, I'm not even going to touch that one.
You don't want to go into this, you know.
Very different cultural approach,
Yeah.
but my wife is quite aggressive like I am,
Yeah.
but in a subtle way,
Okay.
right? So no, and she's very I don't want to compare cultures and races, but as a person, she's very focused but humble.
Yeah.
All right, whereas I'm probably focused and arrogant. All right, so she
Hey,
has
you're
a
a New Yorker.
really nice
Yeah,
mix of like getting things done and being very humble about it, which I think is an Indonesian trait.
Yeah.
Right, very humble people here.
I mean, I understand it goes on, but people are different everywhere, right? So people are different here, people are different everywhere else. The culture changes to
Sure.
culture to culture. But what is the most loud tradition for you in Bali compared to like you came from Western world? Like for you, you should implement this in the Western world. The culture you can take it from here. and
Yeah, this
implement.
is kind of I think respect for your family, and it's hard to say, right? So I don't think your family should dictate. If you really get to know the Balinese, especially, they have a very demanding life.
Yeah.
The religion, probably this particular religion, the Balinese religion here, requires so much of your time and so much of effort and also monetary donations. So I do believe that moral foundation is important, which comes from religion in a lot of places, is something that I'd like to see back in the U.S.
Yeah.
I think people are just floating around because they don't have that foundation,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people grow up without fathers now in the U.S., and that probably should be revisited again,
Yeah.
right? So it's not one thing, but I think you hit it earlier, the chill. People need to chill a bit more. U.S. people get triggered, right? They call it triggering now over the smallest things. And to me, it's like, especially for men, you need to be a man right? Not everything has to be a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? It's like somebody writes something I don't agree with. It doesn't have to be a thing. I don't have
Yeah.
to
As long
reply.
as it's physically not affecting you,
Yeah,
you
as soon
should
as
not
they
be
enter
bothered.
your personal space, then
Yeah.
it needs to be a thing,
Yeah.
right? But in the digital space, nothing needs to be a thing,
Yeah.
right? But I think people react too strongly because they're bored and they
Yeah,
have so
nothing to do.
little going on in their life. The only purpose they find is to react strongly.
This brings to social media, right? Now, when you were growing up as a kid or like a teenager or like a
Sure.
30s, you haven't seen this. There is no social
There
media.
was no social
There
media.
is no phones.
Yeah.
Now, you've seen everything till so far, you feel like this is getting out of hands just because like so much hate.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning of social media, it's all love, like posting nice pictures and sharing
Sure.
love. Now it's all
It's
became hate.
divisive. And what I see with social media, and it happens in so many countries where it becomes pick a team.
Yeah,
You're either this team or this team.
yeah,
And people meeting in the middle is not as common as before,
Yeah.
right? I always look at the US and it's like, are you Democrat or Republican? But by and large, most of the people that will pick one of those teams are probably overlapping 60, 70% in their opinions. But social media pushes those groups so far apart. Finding that common ground where you can agree with people
yeah,
is really hard.
yeah.
And that's a shame. That's because it could be powerful in the other way. Excuse me.
That's the thing. Like nowadays, it's all I see is hate.
Hate. I see creativity.
Yeah,
All right, I still see creativity in social media, but it seems, especially in Bali lately, I'm seeing a lot of negative energy.
yeah,
Right, because I've been following social media since my wife started her business. I help her with that, so I spend way more hours doing that than I'd like to.
yeah,
And the energy I'm seeing right now on social media specific to Bali is that divisive energy again.
yeah,
Pick a team.
yeah,
Are you team local or team foreigner?
yeah.
And it shouldn't be, Bali should be this chill middle ground. But the nature of social media really pushes people to A or B.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, it's too much negative energy.
How you as a foreigner, how you coping up with that? Like
I wear my helmet now. So I was the worst about not wearing a helmet.
Yeah,
But I realized how much the Indonesians, they want to see people visiting their country follow their rules. And by and large, I'm really good about everything else. But the helmet just wasn't my thing.
yeah,
Wear my helmet now all the time. Not out of safety,
yeah,
out of imposed respect,
yeah.
right? Because it just seems so important to the digital community not to see foreigners not wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
I put it on out of respect for that conversation.
But I mean, it's another conversation about it's your life, your choice. But yeah,
Yes and no. So it's my life, my choice if I can afford Siloam,
yeah,
right? If I can afford the hospital.
yeah,
But a lot of people do come here and they visit and they can't afford medical treatment, right? These kids you see on their motorcycles doing wheelies probably didn't get travel insurance. And the other thing people do forget, including myself, is the unfortunate person that finds you after your motorcycle accident, first on the scene.
yeah,
Look at my hairs. They're standing up. I was first on the scene early on. Some tourist, I don't want to say which country, was drunk at 11 in the morning and right in front of my business, must have gone between two cars and lost his foot. So I was first on the scene finding this guy with his foot over there and his body over here. All right, imagine trying to get the foot and the body all sorted by the time the ambulance came. So what people forget is if you're not wearing your helmet and you do a face plant on the road, there's medical costs involved, but really to me it's like it's really a bad situation for the people that have to help you.
I like
Right.
that. It's a different view.
But it's something I forget too because I'm selfish too. When it came to helmets, I'm to this day annoyed I have to wear it, but it's a smart thing to do, especially for the poor person that comes and finds you right after your accident. Maybe you just scuffed up instead of face destroyed.
Yeah.
All right, so wear
So-
your helmets.
Yeah, for
Wear your
sure.
helmets.
Wear your helmets. Only a last question I should ask.
Sure.
So, you lived everywhere in your life,
Yeah,
right?
I've lived in at least a dozen countries.
Yeah. So now, you say this is the
Oh,
place you
Bali's
want to stay?
home.
Yeah, Bali's
Yeah,
home.
Bali's. I burnt my canoe here.
Yeah.
Invested in Indonesia. I love Indonesia. Bali's definitely home.
So, what changed in your personal life and the way of your thinking living in Bali? What made you
I'm
mostly?
infinitely more chill than before.
Yeah.
All right. So, kind of like what I was saying, not everything has to be a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
What exactly made you become that person?
Bad financial investments.
Uh,
So yeah, when you lose a couple of million here and there, Bali's still an affordable place to live. And you look at the setting we're in, right? It's the best place to live, right? So I like being here. Um, and you can afford a good lifestyle for a reasonable amount. I think one of the things that influencers are doing, and it's a disservice to a lot of people, is portraying Bali as a cheap place to live. It's not cheap.
yeah.
It's inexpensive compared to Western prices, right? But if you're coming here thinking you can live on $300 a month and live in a villa and still eat out Italian food every night, it's not the place. But if you come here with a reasonable amount of money that you want to invest, in my case, a small business, maybe in your case, into a more technical side of business, still a great place to do it. And there's a lot of good technical talent here as well. Yeah, but definitely committed to Indonesia in general.
Yeah. I said I don't have another more question, but I do.
Can I build on this one?
Yeah.
So everybody treats Bali like a separate country.
Yeah.
And Indonesia is a country of 17,000 islands.
Yeah.
So for people thinking about moving overseas, I want to move to Bali. Bali's great. Malang is great. Jogja is great, right? Some of the other cities in this nation, right? The Gili Islands are great too, all right? So if you are cost conscious or you want to be a pioneer, I would look at other places in Indonesia, not only this island.
You know, it's so weird. I was actually about to ask you, what do you think the future holds for Bali with all this going on? And do you think it's right time to explore other islands in Indonesia?
I always think, especially for people around your age, it's the right time to explore.
Yeah.
All right. So 20s to even 40, you should be moving.
Yeah.
All right. Move around, find a place. But when you think about settling down, I think Bali's a great option. I think Bali's going to continue being this incredibly culturally rich place. All right. The culture is going to stay.
Yeah.
All right. These people they love their religion like you love your family. So it's not like other places where Christianity is declining, other religions are declining. Here, people are committed to their religion. So I see Bali there's only one Bali, but there's a big world.
Yeah.
There's a really big world, so people should see that world as well.
Yeah, I would say there is so much to Indonesia, so many different islands,
Yeah.
and they're all tropical. They're all beautiful.
Yeah,
you know?
and they're not expensive, and they're not so developed. So if you're looking for an adventure, look at other parts of Flores.
Yeah.
Right, other parts.
I heard it's.
Yeah.
I talked to the Lost Boys the other time. They've been there, and I talked to
amazing.
so many people.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I think it's time to look up.
Look
there
at
is
places.
other places.
Yeah,
There's so much to Indonesia than it's only Bali. I feel.
Yeah, and that's I've met people that never traveled. There's one good friend of mine, older guy. He retired to Bali without coming here.
Yeah.
Right, never been to Thailand or Malaysia or anywhere else, and he just randomly chose Bali. And I think that's good. He's absolutely loving it. He's doing it. He's enjoying it. But for everybody looking at their place in the world, see the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Find the money, put it on credit, whatever it takes. See the world, and then choose a place.
And what makes you home?
What makes it home?
What makes you? What makes it home for you?
Oh, friends.
Friends.
I have a great social circle here. For guys my age, you got to golf. All right. So before I made a lot of friends out of my business, but business and golf, my social circle's great, and I think friends are anywhere. All right. They always say home is where the heart is, but the heart needs friends. Heart needs family. Heart needs good food. Less stress. So yeah, a lot of reasons make it home, but I'd say friends always comes to mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
People. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here.
It's so good. I love it, man. It's a good show.
Thank you for being here.
I love
and
your podcast.
I hope I gave the expectations.
Hopefully the
pretty-
car did okay in this setting here.
Really appreciate being here,
I
and really
love
appreciate. This is all his idea. I just want to put it out there.
I think people should enjoy the simple things of Bali.
Yeah,
All right. And
yeah.
part of the reason I have this car,
Yeah.
it makes it feel more authentic to me.
Yeah, and the guy behind the camera,
There's my man Adam.
he help set up everything, and thank you for doing this, Adam.
Thank
and,
you, Adam.
And this is the first for different way of going, unique way. And we'll see you next week. And please subscribe, and please tell us where else you want me to record and who else you want me to record with. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you, yeah.
Appreciate it.